my money, there's about 12 drivers who could win this. 12? And that just shows you how competitive it's been all race weekend long. Certainly in terms of the race wins, anybody in the top 6 over the weekend has what it takes to get the job done in the final. But even if you look towards the 4th, 5th and 6th rows, there are competitors there who are easily able to string things together for a decent strategy and work their way forward. It's always a bit of a scary but also quite nervous and maybe a slightly bit embarrassing moment for the drivers at this point. You've got to remember these guys are aged between 11 and 14 years of age. This is still very new for them in terms of the spectacle, the grandeur of an event like this. It's an FIA event, so obviously the drivers are presented to us on the main straight. Doesn't happen the same way in other forms of competition in the domestic categories always, so it's always an exciting moment when the drivers who have made it to a final get to wear their colours and get themselves onto the starting grid. It's always a bit of an exciting moment, but the drivers are gearing up under it. And you just got to remember, these guys are still school children, essentially. So the second race of the day, the OK Junior Final in the FIA Karting European Championship here at the Steel Ring in the Czech Republic is about to get underway with a thrilling battle in the offing. So it's time to greet the drivers to the starting grid. Oleksandr Bondarev and Lewis Werrell on the front row of the starting grid for this epic OK Junior Final at the Steel Ring. Second row of the grid, it is Tibor Ramakers alongside his countrymen Dries van Langendonk. Zach Drummond and Christian Costoya are next up on the starting grid on the third row. Then Jack Eilif is alongside Tiziano Monza on the fourth row, the American and the Singaporean. Then Jacopo Martinez alongside Maria Germana Nito making her way into the top 10. Sixth row of the grid, Kian Fardin and Gabriel Koenikad, who are on the sixth row. Then Scott Lindblom on row 7 alongside Ethan Lennon, and they are together on 13th and 14th of the grid. Elliot Kaczynski is alongside Guy Albag, the Swede and the Israeli. Then on the 9th row of the grid, it is Scott Marsh and Salim Hanna, who are together on row 9. And then we have, on the 10th row of the grid, Mies Huben and Jindra Peschel, who are to round out the top 20. Then it's Kit Belowski, the British driver, alongside Filippo Sala in 22nd place, the Italian. Kimi Tani is on the 12th row of the grid, alongside Niklas Schaufler. Then we have Andy Consani on the 14th row of the grid, alongside Matthias Orjuela. And then we have Taim Saleh, 14th row of the grid, alongside Lev Krutelov. On the 15th row of the starting grid, we have David Kozma alongside the British driver Noah Wolff for the Leclerc by Lennox team. Then Tobias Gzenyi on home soil alongside Oliver Kinmark in 32nd. And then it's Davide Bottaro alongside Matt Corby on the 17th row of the grid. On row 18, it is Alfie Slater and Alex Chartier, who lights up in 36th on the grid. Once again, it is going to be great to see all of these drivers battling away for position on the grid. And once more, the national anthem of the Czech Republic will ring out over the circuit here at the Steel Ring, ready for the OK Junior Final. Great to see all of the drivers preparing for an exciting race final here. And it really is going to be an interesting challenge now as our 36 drivers will receive once again the competitors' medal for reaching the finals. The FIA karting president, Mr. Akbar Ibrahim, and the vice president, Mr. John Ryan, will go up the grid. Alfie Slater delighted to receive another final medal as he just about manages to scrape in. It's been a tough weekend for him and also for Davide Bottaro and Tobias Gzenyi. This is a big moment for him as he gets to enter a final in the European Championships on home soil. Great to see the likes of Alex Chartier, Matt Corby, Oliver Kinmark and Noah Wolff. They're receiving their medals as well. Even if you start at the back of the grid, doesn't make a difference. You are here in the European Championship representing your team, your country, your family, your friends and your upbringing. What a big moment this is for an international driver.
Well, yeah, of course it is. I mean, even making it to the final of one of these weekends is a challenge in itself. Remember, we start the weekend with about 90-odd drivers in each of the categories, and it gets whittled down to 36. That's a lot of drivers who have had to go home or are still here watching from the sidelines and not able to take part in the final. So it is a big challenge even to get to this spot here, let alone compete in the final itself. And you can imagine the weight on these drivers' shoulders is quite high, but a moment like this certainly lifts the weight off their shoulders, I think, a little bit, as it's like, you know, I made it to the final. This is an achievement in itself.
So now the competitors are ready, and it's going to be such an interesting race battle for this one. 21 laps of the course to come for the juniors, and it really has been an exceptional challenge to lead us up to this point. So many great challenges along the way. But the man to beat is the Ukrainian sensation, Oleksandr Bondarev. Having had such a fantastic weekend so far, there he is. Just 12 months ago, his season was over, and potentially his career was over at that point. But Bondi the Phoenix has bounced back in fantastic style in 2023. He really is a fairy tale waiting to play out, isn't he?
He really is. Like I say, he's had a relatively dominant performance this weekend, taking maximum points going into it. He leads the championship with 112 points at the start of this one. As soon as the final gets underway, we'll get the new classification on the championship. Timo Ramikas is second in the championship with 107 from Lewis Worrell's 89 in third. Zach Drummond with 70, Tame Soleil with 58, and then Elliot Kaczynski with the 57th in sixth place. So again, the championship still very, very close. A look at the trophy that is up for grabs for first place. It's a fine trophy, very well designed, and I'd very much like to see that in my cupboard at home, I think.
Too late.
Too late, yeah.
You're about 14 years too late for that one, unfortunately.
Never mind.
You have to start quite young at this level. But no, these guys and girls have been fantastic building up to this point. And again, it's also great to see that, you know, this is one of the true motor racing playing fields where it is purely equal in regardless of gender and background and upbringing. If you've got the ability to make it this far, you can get there. It's fantastic to watch all of these 36 racing drivers making their way to their karts as they prepare for a very tough mission in front. For both drivers on the front row of the grid, this is going to be a very exciting race. You've got to remember these kids have grown up together. They're in the paddock together as kids. They're still going through their schooling at the same time as they are going through their racing journey. This is all a very exciting and intriguing battle, and it's crazy to think that of the 20 drivers currently in Formula One, 18 of them have been in exactly the same position that these boys and girls have been in at some point in their past, gearing up for an FIA karting final.
Yeah, again, it just shows you exactly what these drivers are in for in the future of their racing careers. Some of the names, like you say, that have been through this paddock are great and wonderful. So,
I mean, there's only 2 drivers on the current Formula One grid that haven't come through an FIA karting final.
Go on.
Want to guess who they are?
I won't take a guess. Go on. Enlighten me.
Yuki Tsunoda
Yeah.
and Sergio Perez. They're the only 2 that didn't come through an FIA karting final. All the others did. Oleksandr Bondarev getting ready for the challenge in front of him. The Kart Republic star did so well over the course of time qualifying on Friday, the qualifying heats yesterday and today, and of course the super heat this morning. My goodness, what an opportunity this is for him. He knows exactly what's expected of him. He knows what he expects of himself, and he is ready to challenge for the victory here at the steel ring. He did a great job 2 weeks ago. All he has to do essentially is the same job again, only this time he does it from pole position. The Kart Republic youngster definitely has a weight of expectation on his shoulders, but it's no heavier than the expectation he puts on himself. What about this young man, Lewis Werrell? So fast over the course of these last 2 weeks. The British driver has been mighty fast every time he's come out to play. And he's actually got himself into a perfect position here, front row of the starting grid after an epic performance throughout the course of the weekend. He has 89 points in the Virtual Championship at this point, and he is 3rd in the European standings, but lining on the front row of the starting grid is definitely going to be a good position for him to be in. In fact, the top 3 drivers on the starting grid for this final are the top 3 drivers in the European Championship standings at the moment. Bondarev has 112, Tibor Ramekers has 107, and Werrell has 89. There is the pint-sized Belgian star for VDK Racing, Tibor Ramekers, the king of Valencia a few weeks ago. And now he is here at the steel ring to bounce himself back into a race-winning contention again. From 3rd on the grid, he has a really good shot, actually, from the inside line of the 2nd row. He can follow in behind Oleksandr Bondarev and charge through to battle for the win. But alongside him is his countryman, another man who has been so impressive over the course of the 2023 season. And don't forget, he hasn't even been in the FIA karting paddock for a year yet. He made his debut at the World Championships last year. Dries van Langendonk, the young man for Forza Racing, he's an epic talent, isn't he? He really does have this incredible energy to him as a driver.
He really does. And, you know, he's shown such strength as he moved to the Forza Racing team. You know, he started his career with the team 2 weeks ago at this very circuit and showed straight away that the kart was good and he was good with the team. And this time around, it's worked out just as well. He starts this one, like you say, on that 2nd row in P4, right behind his teammate. And then this man here, Zach Drummond from the UK and resides in Scotland and comes down to these race weekends. He's such a dominant performer as well. He starts this one on the 3rd row in P5 on the Parolin chassis. He had race wins yesterday. He knows how to pedal around this circuit. He's such a talent. And like I say, he's definitely a champion in his own right.
He's very much picked up the mantle left here in the FIA karting paddock by Dexter Patterson, the former European junior champion. And Dexter Patterson obviously won a world title as well in his junior karting days. But this man has a good shot over the course of this weekend as well, and he knows that he's got to put it all on the table when it counts. Christian Costoya of Spain, a fabulous competitor, always got a smile on his face, always ruthlessly motivated and determined to put on his best show. He never seems to have a sulk or never seems to have a cross face. He's always there, learning, developing, adapting.
Always likes to go for a good dive down the inside as well, does Christian Costoy. We've seen it many times over the course of this weekend, and some of them working out very, very well for him. And of course, he starts this one on that 3rd row alongside Zach Drummond. And again, I'm just thinking, you don't know who to pin it on all the way throughout this, because even this driver here, Jack Iliff in the 216, further back in the order, the American driver, he's been so great around this track. He's shown real skill, and he will drive that Parolin kart round this track very, very well. And he starts on the inside row as well, and we've seen that inside row work so, so well. If Werrell doesn't get a good start, you will see that at least the top 5 on that other side could get down the inside. We've seen it earlier on in the weekend.
I quite agree with you. Jack Iliff is definitely one to watch, as is this man, the Singaporean Tiziano Monza for the Satellite Paralympic squad from Shamek, Europe. This is a great opportunity for Tiziano Monza. He's got his eyes firmly fixed in front of him. He's been ever consistent through the 2023 season thus far, and he would dearly love to finish his weekend on a high note. The 5th row of the starting grid has 2 rank outsiders for the podium, but potentially even rank outsiders for the victory as well. You've got to look at the Kart Republic star starting in 9th position on the grid, Jacopo Martinese. The 1 minute board goes up. Jacopo Martinese has a strong opportunity here to push himself into a race-winning position. And what about the lady in 10th position on the grid? There is Jacopo Martinese, 9th position on the grid for the Kart Republic factory team, and alongside him on the starting grid is the Portuguese star in the Tony Kart factory operation. And that, of course, is Maria Giamananito. So 2 drivers there with a great opportunity to work their way further forward. There is Martin Edwards, the Deputy Race Director, getting himself into his vantage point on the circuit so that he can monitor the start and then go through the rest of the procedure tooth and nail.
I think you mixed 2 of the race directors together with that one.
I did, didn't I?
You called him Martin.
I did. Nigel Edwards. Nigel Edwards. Apologies to our dear friend and colleague Martin Bean.
Hey, best of both. That is.
Best of both worlds there. Oh, he's never going to let me forget that. He's never going to forgive me for that. Sorry, Mart. Anyway. Oh, dear Beanie. Right. Anyway, we'll carry on. Nigel Edwards there out on the circuit as the Deputy Race Director. The race director himself is, of course, Pasquale Lupoli. There he is. The OK Junior final about to get underway for the 2nd final of the season. Last time it was won by the Belgian Tibor Ramekers. Who's going to get it done at the Steel Ring in the Czech Republic? Let's find out. Oleksandr Bondarev and Lewis Werrell on the front row. Tibor Ramekers and Dries van Langendonk on the second. Zach Drummond and Christian Castoya from Jack Iliff and Tiziano Monza. Jacopo Martinese and Maria Giamananito. Kian Fardin and Gabriel Koenikan from Scott Lindblom and Ethan Lennon. Elliot Kaczynski and Guy Albag from Scott Marsh and Salim Hada. Misuben and Jindro Petchel. Then Kit Bolowski and Filippo Sala. Kimitani and Niklas Schaufler. Andy Consani and Matthias Orwela. Tame Saleh, Lev Kutelov, David Kozma, Noah Wolf, Tobias Jezenyi, Oliver Kinmark, Davide Battano, Matt Corby, Alfie Slater and Alex Chartier finish off this 36-card field, and every single one of them has earned the right to be here. Every single one of them has a chance to go for the podium.
Brand new set of slick tyres on board every single one of these karts. There's a look inside race control. Chris Lambert in charge, the main man in the middle there, watching the race as it goes on, and I suspect hopefully they have a nice quiet day today. They don't want to be busy, and if they are busy, it's not gone too well out on circuit. But as the rest of the drivers get themselves lined up ready for this one, it's going to be very exciting. You cannot pin it on anyone. Like you were saying earlier, there's possibly 12 drivers in with a shot of winning this one, maybe even more. You just don't know, but we're about to find out what's going to happen as, again, the clouds loom over the circuit. The threat of rain is still in the air, but at the moment the track is dry, the sun is shining, the grandstands are full, and this race is going to be an exciting one. Stay tuned for it as 21 laps of racing is about to get underway.
Well, in between races, when I was down there at the podium, I can tell you that it was a bit like an Imagine Dragons song down there in the paddock. The thunder was properly coming up, but it seems to have ceased a little bit for the start of this OK Junior final. The 36 drivers getting on the grid are about to bring their own to the table. Here we go. Oleksandr Bondarev, Lewis Werrell, the Belgian pair, Tibor Ramekers and Dries van Langendonk, Scotland's Zach Drummond, Spain's Christian Castoya, and a fabulous battle between Jack Iliff, Tiziano Monza, Jacopo Martinese and Maria Giamananito will greet us as they come up the final turn and down the main straight. Not this time, full start.
Yeah, a bit eager to get away at the front. Like I say, pre-race nerves coming in here as drivers just trying to find what they want to do. And it might be a case of the fact that they want to go for an extra lap to try and scrub these brand new slicks in. Because again, they are brand new on the karts, not run a single lap until this very first one now. So they've got that little benefit there. So drivers, again, just sorting themselves out and getting themselves in the zone. Like you say, you can imagine this point of the race very, very demanding on the driver. Lots to think about. What have you spotted?
There's umbrellas going up on the grandstands, you know. It's
There
funny
is?
because they need them when it rains and they need it when the sun's out.
Like I say, I think I've caught the sun a bit on the top of my ears, even though the fact that I've been in a commentary box, I don't know how to work that one out.
Umbrellas are a very good idea here at Steel Ring, no matter what the weather conditions.
Exactly, exactly. Here we go then. Drivers getting themselves lined up as they make their way into the final sector of the circuit then. Remember, they will cut the final few corners as they'll go round the sort of penultimate section of the track through the tram lines. And again, you can't take away from this one, what's going to work, the inside row or the outside row. Remember, Lewis Werrell kept picking the outside row during the qualifying heats earlier on in the weekend because he preferred it. He's on it this time around with his teammate just behind him. Bondarev on the right-hand side into the tram lines. They go. Lights go out and down it towards turn one. Great start from Bondarev and crucially from Timo Ramikas as well. Dives in towards second place as well. Dips in towards third place. You can see the parallel in there of Zach Drummond up into P4 as they whiz their way through into that infield section. Watch the pinch point now as they all constantly erupt, clouting over the inside curve there. That was Jacopo Martinez.
No, it's messy.
And it's gone wrong there for Kaczynski, and Kart's having to dive on the top.
Oh, it's Kaczynski and Hanna. Kaczynski and Hanna have collided with each other, and Salim Hanna, the protege of Juan Pablo Montoya, and Elliot Kaczynski, the Swedish driver for World Racing, have tangled into each other. Their race is over already. They're going to have to try and push started if they want to keep going, but I doubt that's going to happen on the uphill gradient.
Well,
anyway, out in front it's Bondarev from Ramikas and Werrell.
Well, luckily they're pushing it downhill there, so it should help them out, but I'll see if they both get fired up, and it doesn't look like one of them isn't, and it is Kaczynski who is going to be out of this race. What a disaster for the young driver, but nevertheless, the race continues as the drivers make their way back across the start-finish line. It's Bondarev from Ramikas, Werrell, Drummond, then Van Langendonk, then it's Costoya, Eilif, Monza, Neto, and Martinez who rounds out the top 10.
What a great start for Timo Ramikas and for Zach Drummond. They've definitely made their mark on the first lap of this race. A good start as well for Marianito. Kit Belowski up 6 places, Mies Huben up 5, Adi Kunsani up 8 places, David Kozma up 6 as well, so plenty of movers on the first lap. But Timo Ramikas is already under pressure from Lewis Werrell. That's exactly what Oleksandr Bondarev wants. He wants Lewis Werrell to go after the Belgian.
Well, exactly that. But remember, if Ramikas can hold on to the pace, remember both of them on the Cup Republic chassis. There's another car off there.
Little bit of contact, I think, between Scott Lindblom and Guy Albag. And so Guy Albag has ended up having a bit of an issue with the front fairing. It may have come loose as they went side by side in the compression, and Guy Albag's front fairing got caught underneath the rear wing, underneath the rear wheel, I should say, sorry, of his combatant there. So Scott Lindblom and Guy Albag getting away with it, but it couldn't got any closer without any big incident. So now Lewis Werrell trying again. Here's a replay of the start.
Good start from Bondarev, gets it well, and sweeps across, like you say, his favourite style, sweeps across to cover that inside line there, gets away with it, and crucially, good start from Werrell, didn't lose too many places, managed to get a good one there, then this is where it sort of kicked off. So Martinez hits the inside curve there, but you need to look a little further back. You need to see the yellow helmet, and there already onto the back. And I don't think that was Kaczynski's fault there. I think he was just squeezed up as Karts had to try and dive left, right, and centre out the way. But so unfortunate. And Salim Hanau there just, in the back there.
Nobody to blame, just a racing incident off the start. So many drivers into the tightest form of space, and so it made it very difficult for them all to balance it out. Bondarev out in front of Timo Ramikas, but Lewis Werrell's in second. Where did Werrell get the move? We missed that. But Lewis Werrell has got through into second place past Timo Ramikas. That's changed the face of this one quite dramatically, as Lewis Werrell now has a chance to go after Oleksandr Bondarev in the lead.
Well, Bondarev's got the fastest lap of the race currently, 54.424. So he's looking very quick. The gap between them as down the inside goes Zach Drummond on Timo Ramikas. Ramikas fights back, and Dries Van Langendonk dives to the inside of Drummond. It's side by side between the two of them, but Drummond holds on to it. Van Langendonk tried to get the move done, but couldn't hold on to it.
Now Drummond again on Ramikas. This time he has got the move done on the Belgian.
Very nicely done.
Very nicely moved. Nice move there, I should say, from Zach Drummond as he gets the run on Timo Ramikas. And now Dries Van Langendonk sizing up an opportunity as Christian Costoya lines him up. Then Eilif, Monza, Martinez, Neto, Lindblom, Fardin, Huben, Belowski, and Guy Albag, who has dropped into 15th position. But this is a proper cavalry now. Drummond up to third.
Lewis Werrell, fastest lap of the race, 54.208. He's taken millimetres out of Bondarev's lead, but they've got plenty of time to close that up as Zach Drummond sees a warning flag at the start of this race. He'll have to be careful not to see any more of those, as it all Constantine is up once again, and down the inside that looked like Eilif on Costoya there, and here was the overtake from Drummond, which I think pipped him his warning flag. A little bit too much contact potentially there.
I think he just squeezed Timo Ramikas a little bit too close to the barriers, and that's why they've just got to be a little bit careful with him. Come on, you need to give him a little bit of room to play with there. You didn't give him a lot.
Well, firm but fair racing. There is Timo Ramikas currently sitting in now P4 after he's dropped down the order just that little bit. Here's another replay. This is Lewis Werrell on Ramikas. So that was the move that got him into second place. A little bit of contact between the two of them as well. So And that really suffered there for Ramakas, didn't it?
Yeah, it looked to me a little bit like Ramakas was just not prepared to let Werrell get away with it that easily. And at the last minute, when he was already alongside him, just tried to thwart him, but it was already well far gone by that point. So Ramakas has to let Werrell go. And now Drummond is through. Here we go, Bondarev and Werrell. Another fastest lap from Werrell. And this time, nearly 0.2 of a second quicker than Bondarev. It was only a few thousandths of a second quicker last time round. But Bondarev versus Werrell, this is where it's going to get interesting.
It's going to get very interesting here. Down into the toboggan corner they go. Bondarev holds on to it, but the gap is about half a second now between the two of them. Back onto the start-finish straight they go. And Werrell tucking in once again. And on this lap, doesn't set a new fastest lap, but does go purple in Sector 2. But Bondarev went purple in Sector 1, so the gap still maintaining a close distance here. There's his teammate, Durizan Langendonk, currently sitting in P5 at the moment behind Timo Ramakas. So Ramakas for Belgium doing all he can to try and stick with Zach Drummond from the UK. And at the moment, all is well between the drivers.
I'm not entirely sure Timo Ramakas has got a particularly balanced chassis. He looks quite twitchy in some of the braking zones. It's not everywhere around the course, but there are certain parts of the track where the back end just looks very unsettled. Let's have a replay. This is Timo Ramakas through the final turn. Let's have a look. There are just certain parts of the course where he doesn't quite have that same rigidity that he had earlier in the weekend. I wonder if that little trip up with Lewis Werrell may have just unsettled something. Maybe it's not quite the way it's supposed to be.
Question mark then over Ramakas' kart to see if it's all well, but karts that are running well are these two in the race lead, Bondarev and Werrell for the race lead in this final. We're on lap 8 as Werrell once again, fastest lap of the race, 54.010. The gap's now 0.3 of a second. Remember, Werrell was leading the final 2 weeks ago and it all went wrong. At this time, he's thinking that's not going to happen again. I'm going to go for the race win on this one. And he is right on that rear bumper of Oleksandr Bondarev here. Bondarev's had the perfect weekend so far. Third in qualifying, but then 5 race victories in the qualifying heats and then the race win in the superheat earlier on today. He will want to get the perfect weekend and go for that final win as well. But what can Werrell do? Back across the start-finish line they go. And again, the gap comes down just that fraction more.
0.3 of a second between the two of them. Bondarev has got to stay calm and stay focused. Lewis Werrell can just attack. This is his golden opportunity. He knows that Bondarev is the one with the back to the wall. 8 laps done and a further 13 to go. This is going to be tricky for Timo Ramakas to get back on terms with Zach Drummond, and he knows it. He needs to get into a settled rhythm. Even if Werrell were to beat Bondarev in this one, Bondarev would still lead the championship.
Oh, look at
battle,
this.
This is Kian Fardin getting his move side by side, 3 wide as they come off the hairpin. Goodness me, Kipolowski and Mario Giovananito dueling it out with Kian Fardin and Mies Huben. That was properly close between the 4 drivers there, and they just about found enough racetrack to settle their differences without contact. It was about as close as it gets, but there's contact further back. 2 Sodis. The 2 Sodi teammates have come together there. That is disastrous.
I think it's Scott Marsh and Filippo Sala who have come off.
And the problem is that now there's going to be a war of words between the 2 teammates. Well, no, there isn't, because one of them seems to be accepting the blame. Oh dear, that's not what the team wanted to see at all. Marsh and Sala both out of the race there. And bitter disappointment between the 2 drivers as they come to an end.
Well, that is an absolute disaster for the 2 Sodi for Test drivers who end their final prematurely. Eyes back on the top battle here as Werrell continues his forge on, and look how close it's got now. I thought he was going for a move there into the chicane. Back down and up the hill they go into the final sector through toboggan. Look how close it's got now between the 2 of them. If we're going to see a move from Werrell, it will most likely be in the first big hairpin in the infield section. The 230 is under investigation in this race, so we'll find out who that is later on in the race. But up the hill they go. Werrell still all over the back here of Bondarev. Filippo Sala, who is under investigation.
So now Lewis Werrell hunting his opportunity to try and get through on Oleksandr Bondarev. Bondarev has had to respond on the first sector with the fastest sector of the race so far. Werrell looking very hungry in these hairpins. If he gets half a chance, he's going to try and snake through on the inside line. Bondi's got to be very tough to react here. And Oleksandr Bondarev versus Lewis Werrell. Bondarev being very smart and calculated through these hairpins, just keeping the kart in the middle of the road. Doesn't go left, doesn't go right, gives himself enough radius to get through without compromising too much speed, but it also thwarts Werrell the chance to dive up the inside. Even if Werrell were to beat Bondarev to the victory, and Bondarev would have finished in second place, it would still be Bondarev that leads the championship, but that isn't the Bondarev way. He doesn't want to settle for second place. He doesn't want to come through in P2. He did that in Valencia. I know how that feels like, thanks very much. Now I want to know what it's like to win in the European Championship.
Yes, indeed. Let's see if he can hold on to that one. Eyes on the battle further back as well, as Ramika's kart seems to be still operating okay. He's right there behind Drummond for P3. Still no moves happening between the two of them. It's allowing Van Langendonk and Eilif to just keep in contact with these two. So the battles rage on as the front two, still no change. Werrell waiting for the move. And remember, when these two last raced together in one of the qualifying heats, when they were both joint on maximum points, one of them had to yield their perfect weekend, and Werrell was the driver who had to yield. He will not want to repeat that again.
Check that
rain
cloud.
Look at that cloud that's looming over the circuit. It looks like it's absolutely pouring it with rain just outside the track.
It's moving fast as well. Now here's the incident between Marsh and Sala.
Oh dear.
And that, I'm afraid, is how the race ended for Filippo Sala and Scott Marsh. Marsh was unhappy with Sala, and Sala was quite happy to say, okay, I did that one wrong, sorry mate. But both races come to an end. It's worth pointing out at this stage as Lewis Werrell gets another fastest lap under his belt, but he only does so by 0.02 of a second, as Bondarev is setting very similar pace. None of the drivers in the top 3 positions have ever won a European Championship final.
Really? Wow.
That's tasty, isn't it? They're both, all 3 of them are going to be as hungry as each other to get that job done.
Crucially, though, these two have just managed to drive away from the rest of the field. Zach Drummond and Ramika's, they're 2.2 seconds further down the road. So incredible drive than what they've done so far at the front of this one. Not defending, just constantly going through it. The gap is now less than 0.2 of a second as the slipstream kicks in. Remember, it's not much of a slipstream. The straight is not long enough. It about kicks in by the time they start turning in towards turn 1. So they can't take an advantage of it, really, as again, they head down the hill. This is the closest he's been, has Werrell, but not able to go for the move, as Bondarev now looking like he's positioned that kart somewhat in the middle of the circuit.
It's a perfect decisive move in terms of the defensive tactic. In the middle of the track means that you can't go left or right. He's trying to back Lewis Werrell into a corner. Werrell trying to look for it. No, you don't, says Oleksandr Bondarev. He's going to complete the 14th lap, still in the lead. He looks over his left shoulder just to get his bearings as to where Lewis Werrell is. But the key factor here is don't look back, look forward. Try the best to see where the kart is going to go. Don't worry too much about the driver giving chase. Focus on your own objectives. Focus on your own racing line. The gap between them, 1/4 of a second, not even. Fastest lap of the race comes in from Bondarev this time. But again, it's only by 0.03 of a second. They are literally matching each other for lap time pace here. Bondarev and Werrell trading fastest laps, trading sector times, and they are pushing each other to within an inch of what they can stand. They are literally reaching each other's limits here, as there is an investigation going on for the 221. That is Alexander Chartier.
Well, there are still big moves and races happening further through the field as well as we keep an eye on these top 2. Andy Consani's gained 12 positions in this race. He's currently up into P13. He's having a good run, is the French driver. A little further down, Noah Wolf, the British driver for the Leclerc by Lennox team, is up 11 places into P19 as the battle's still at the front. At the moment, just continuing a bit of a stalemate here as we are more than half race distance complete. And about 21 laps in this one. We go on to lap 16 after 15 laps have been completed. And there you can see the rest of the field coming through your shot here. Changed last time around. Kipolowski managed to get past Martinez as well. There's the battle on your screen. So Martinez all over the back of Polowski, who's only just taken the position on that last lap. He'll want to fight back for that. Remember, Jacopo Martinez is one of the other drivers who has gone absolutely side by side down compression curve. This one here that we watch our 2 race leaders at, and Werrell so close. He's got to go for the gap. Oh, I thought it was there, but it just wasn't close enough. Bondarev keeps that gap closed, but crucially, Bondarev is now concerned because now Werrell's starting to go for the move. And remember, Werrell started to do that later on in the race that they had earlier on where it didn't work out. Werrell this time is attacking way sooner. Crucially, they've got a battle buffer of 2 seconds to go to work with. Let's see what happens.
This is an absolute grudge match between Oleksandr Bondarev and Lewis Werrell, and they're starting to look for spots of rain up in the air again now, potentially. If that happens in the final couple of laps, then that's going to be a real game changer. Werrell again trying to hunt down Bondarev. Bondarev needs to be very careful about where he places the kart. He doesn't go defensive. Good. You can't afford to go defensive when you don't have to defend it on the inside line there, because you compromise yourself in terms of time. He sees that there's 2 or 3 kart legs. Now he's got to place it in the middle. Good boy. Very nicely handled. Lewis Werrell, you've got to go to work. You've got to go after him. Come on. Give him the challenge that you know you can give him. This is a brilliant battle between the two of them. They're both doing exactly what they're supposed to do in exactly the right way. Bondarev is absolutely uncrushable in defense. Lewis Werrell is unflappable in offense.
Here we go then. Big look over the shoulder there for Werrell just to see what's going on behind, and you can still see that there is a 2-second advantage that they have from the rest of the field. So still have plenty of time to go to work here. Again, down the hill they go into the infield section. This is where we see a lot of the overtakes happen. This time around, not close enough, but again, Werrell just tries to take that inside line as Bondarev holds it through the second of the hairpins, and again, just looks after that one. The battle further back still rages on as well. Here's a replay of what's happened further on. This is Oleksandr, and down the inside, tries to get the mover. You can see he's on the outside row there. Oh, so close there.
That'll be why you've got a little bit of investigation going on. Chartier getting in the mix there. How close is it between these two? This is a proper grudge match, isn't it? This is like watching 2 boxers going at each other in the ring. Both trading sector times, both trading apexes, both trading opportunities to go for the move. There's nothing between them at all. 3 laps to go. This is what motorsport is all about. Both in even equipment, I would say. The Forza Expert is the match for the Kart Republic factory chassis, and certainly Oleksandr Bondarev is a match for Lewis Werrell. And they are pushing each other to their absolute limits. This is great stuff between the 2 drivers. Bondarev hanging on, Werrell in second place as they drop down the compression complex, up towards the hairpin, in through the left. Protect on the inside line here because Werrell's going to try and attack. Werrell will try and come back at him again. They both drift a little bit wide on the curbs. It's a stalemate between the 2 men.
It is indeed. They've just got to try and find, it's basically who breaks first really between the 2 of them. If you're a Bondarev fan or a Werrell fan, I'm sure you're at the edge of your seat with...
I'm a fan of both of them. What am I supposed to do with that?
No fingernails left, I can imagine, on anyone watching these 2, as well as the battles that are heating up behind as well. But they just keep driving away from the drivers behind them. The gap's opening up a little bit more. It's now 2.2 seconds. So they keep opening up the gap despite the fact that they're driving away from the rest of the field. This is fantastic stuff. But again, it's just chopping up and down. They're ping-ponging, they're bungee jumping between the gap between the 2 of them. Like you say, it's just a complete stalemate at the time, and we're running out of time.
Werrell knows it as well. He's going a little bit wide as he comes off the second hairpin. Now he's got to protect. He needs to see if there's a chance. There isn't in the second hairpin complex. And as they drop down toboggan, this is where things are going to need to get a bit serious for Lewis Werrell. How much speed can he afford to carry? And it's also pretty close between Drummond and Ramekes. Ramekes might steal a chance to go for the podium on the final lap as well. Ramekes looking to leave here as the second position in the championship. Here we go. 1 lap to go. Bondarev versus Werrell. What have you boys got?
Well, the gap's opened up to quite a bit now. It's just around 0.3 of a second. So Werrell struggling here as he tries every piece of tarmac to try and gain that little bit of time. Bondarev just taking his normal racing line. Will go defensive this time around. He does hold that inside line. Hopefully Werrell took the normal racing line there. He does close up a little bit here. It's going to be a last-ditch attempt into this section here, down in towards compression. Not side by side yet, but here could be the move as Bondarev goes defensive. Werrell could get the switch around here on the exit. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Bondarev still leads as they go into the final sector. Werrell look to the inside there, but can't quite do it. As again, as they go nearly side by side, it looks like it's going to be Bondarev here.
It's not going to happen. Werrell has thrown everything he can at it, but it's going to be Oleksandr Bondarev. He wins at the steel ring from Lewis Werrell after a heart-stopping fight that goes right the way to the wire. Well done, Oleksandr. Well done, Lewis. The 2 of you have given us one of the best grudge matches we have seen for a long, long time in FIA karting. They both gave as good as they got. Neither of them put a wheel wrong. Neither of them had they both had so much to lose, but I tell you what, they were both smart, they were both calculated, they were both tactical. but Oleksandr Bondarev, Bondy the Phoenix, rises through the flames. A year ago, he was in a hospital bed in Barcelona. Not anymore. Now he is the king of the steel ring. Oleksandr Bondarev is the victor here in the Czech Republic. What a fantastic resurgence from Oleksandr Bondarev. That is the first time you're going to hear his name as a winner in FIA competition. But I tell you what, it will not be the last. The Phoenix is rising.
What a drive then from the young Ukrainian who ends the race after 21 laps on the top spot. Lewis Werrell takes second place by less than 0.2 of a second from Zach Drummond at the end, gaining 2 positions. He rounds out the podium. A brilliant drive, a British 2-3 here at the Steel Ring in the Czech Republic. Thibaut Ramekers and Dries van Langendonk take the next 2 spots for Belgium for 4th and 5th place, and Jack Eilef who rounds out the top 6. Christian Costoya and Tiziano Monza take 7th and 8th from Scott Lindblom and Kian Fardin, who rounds out the top 10 in 9th and 10th. Kip Balowski at the end of that one takes 11th place after gaining 10 positions throughout that race from Andy Consani, behind in 12th place, gaining 13. Jacopo Martinez, unfortunately dropping down 4 places, finishes in 13th place. Mies Huben and Guy Albag round out the top 15 from Noah Wolf, who gained 14 places to finish in the top 16. He had Kimi Tani and Jendrik Pichel just behind. They rounded out the top 18. Gabriel Kernican for Brazil and CRG rounds out the 19th spot on the grid, with Tame Soleil for the Sauber Academy team taking 7 positions, finishing in P20. Mateus Orjuela rounds out 21st place after gaining 5 positions from Maria Neto, taking 22nd place. Unfortunately, the young Tony Kart driver not having the best race, dropping 12 positions in the final. Oliver Kinmark finishing in 23rd place after gaining 9 places from Nicolas Schaufler. David Cosma finishing in 25th place from Matt Corby, Ethan Lennon, Alexander Chartier, Tobias Sechenny, Alfie Slater, Davide Botaro, Lev Krutelov, Salim Hana and Scott Marsh. The retirements with Filippo Sala and Elliot Kaczynski. The highlights of the race: it was a good start from Bondarev and for Thibaut Ramekers, who got into second place in the early stages of the race. Later on it would all go wrong as the drivers would then concertina up at the exit of the corner. We saw Kaczynski and Salim Hana then come together as the karts concertinaed up, and you can see there just up and over. And I think, yeah, between the 2 drivers, absolutely nothing they could have done there, as drivers had to take to the runoff area to avoid contact. Only the 1 retirement between those 2, and it was Elliot Kaczynski. Salim Hana would continue. Werrell then went for the move for second place, managing to get the jump on Thibaut Ramekers, and that's where we saw maybe that the damage could have been caused to Ramekers' kart, that we saw that he was twitching around on circuit. And again, he went side by side with Drummond here, who would try his level best to try and take that position. He would later on in the lap, as Dries van Langendonk then tried to go down the inside of Drummond for that position. Ramekers then would slot into 4th place, as he would try to hold on to that one for the rest of the race. He did. Then the Sodi karts, the 2 teammates of Filippo Sala and Scott Marsh, unfortunately coming together, and as you can imagine, the 2 drivers frustrated with each other. Filippo Sala obviously incredibly apologetic for that move there between the 2 of them. Then later on in the race as well, we saw these frightfully close moments between the drivers further down in the order. Alexander Chartier nearly clipping the barriers, but after 21 laps, Oleksandr Bondarev would maintain that dominant performance, and he comes away at the end of this final here in the Czech Republic at the Steel Ring, winning the 2nd round of the championship. As he makes his way back into Parc Fermé, the podium's coming up very, very soon. As you can imagine, the celebrations coming in thick and fast. Again, the crowd's still packing the grandstands here, as there is one more race to go. The OK final for the senior category, the fastest of the karts that will be racing here today, and some of the fiercest drivers that we will see across the weekend. Who will it be for that session? That will be coming up later on in just a few moments' time, after the OK Junior final podium, as of course we see Bondarev, Werrell and Drummond take to the podium.
Final, a proper grudge match that went right to the wire, and now we get to celebrate in style with the 3 drivers that make their way to the podium here at the Steel Ring. In 3rd position for the United Kingdom, Zach Drummond! A great run for the Paralympic star, fighting his way all weekend, and a rightful position on the podium is his. In second position, also for the United Kingdom, Lewis Werrell! A heroic and fighting drive all the way to the dais for Lewis Werrell after a fabulous battle. But your race winner for the Ukraine, Oleksandr Bondarev! He brings Kare to the podium in the European Championship to celebrate with Car Republic. And here comes his team manager, Tom Joyner. What a weekend for Car Republic and for Oleksandr Bondarev. And in deference to the race-winning driver, the national anthem for Ukraine. Fairy tales really do come true in FIA karting. Phoenixes do rise from the flames. Fantastic stuff. And now to greet the drivers with their trophies, we will ask our dignitaries to come forward. Firstly, Martin Gregor of the Steel Ring will come forward to give the trophy to our driver in third position for the Great Britain, Zach Drummond. And now we ask our FIA Karting Vice President, Mr. John Ryan, to come forward to present the trophy to our driver coming home in second position. Also for the United Kingdom, Lewis Werrell! And we ask our FIA Karting President, Mr. Akbar Ibrahim, to come forward to present the trophy to the winning driver in the OK Junior final of the European Championship for Ukraine, Oleksandr Bondarev! And we will also ask Mr. Ibrahim to give the winning trophy to the winning team and the team manager for Car Republic Motorsport, Tom Joyner. What a satisfying end to the weekend it has been here in the OK Junior with three fabulous drivers on the roster, and we ask them all to get together on the top step of the podium for the team picture. Tom Joyner can squeeze in with Kare as well. Fabulous opportunity for the drivers to celebrate in style here at Trinec. Oh dear, Kare's fallen over. He has to be part of the picture, of course. There we are, ladies and gentlemen, your dignitaries there on the podium, and our three drivers, Zach Drummond, Lewis Werrell, and your winner, Oleksandr Bondarev! So with our pictures done and dusted, we will now ask our dignitaries if they wish to disappear, they can, because this is going to be quite the celebration for Zach, for Lewis, and for Sasha Bondarev as well, as they celebrate in the Steel Ring sunshine. It's going to be a big party here tonight. Let's get busy with a fizzy! The celebrations begin as they finally get to enjoy the moment in fantastic fashion. Ladies and gentlemen, Zach Drummond, Lewis Werrell, and your race winner, Oleksandr Bondarev! The OK Junior final has more than lived up to the expectations. There is one race to go here in the Czech Republic, and that is the OK final. Bring it on!
Bring it on indeed. The OK category gets ready to head out onto the circuit as the final few photos get taken for the OK Junior final. And what a final that was. We turn our attention now to the senior category, and this will be a fight to the end. Gabriel Gomez, who has had an absolutely perfect weekend, has put it on pole position and won